Alright, so good morning everyone. So today we will study about another parts of your research. So you're done and approved with your research title and your research question. So let's now go with the scope and the limitation of your study. Okay, but before that, let's first identify what is the scope of the study. Okay, so the scope of the study in your research contains the explanation of what information or subjects is being analyzed in your study. It is followed by an explanation of the limitation of the research. So you have keywords here, the information of the subjects to be analyzed and the limitation of your research. Also, the scope of study in your research is usually limited in a scope by only mentioning the sample of its size, the time, and the geographic area or the location of your study, while the limitation of the study is the description of the scope of the study. So let's narrow it down. It will explain why definite aspects of the subject were chosen and why others were excluded. It is also mentioned the research methods used as well as the certain theories applied to the data. So let's narrow down what is limitations and what is delimitation. When we say delimitations, it aims to narrow the scope of your study. These are the choices made and boundaries set by the researcher that should be mentioned, while the limitations aims to identify the potential weakness of the study. These are influences, shortcomings, and conditions that the researcher cannot control. So, meaning the limitations is already the boundaries of your study. Okay, these are the things that you need to be limited to with regards to your study. While limitations, this is the influences that might potentially affect your study beyond your control. So, where to place the limitations and the limitation? So, the limitations is placed in the chapter 1 or in the methodology section of your study, while the limitations is written into the final section of your study, usually in the results and discussions. The scope of the study is the extent to which the research area will be explored. It explains also the parameters within which the study will be operating. So here are the prompts or the examples of your or the beginnings of your scope of the study. So you might say the study will focus on, the study will cover, the study will consist of, the scope of the study will be. Another definition of the limitation of the study, we've said a while ago that it sets boundaries of your study. And of course, it aims to narrow the scope of your study. Okay, we may use the following prompts or beginning of your delimitation. You might say, the study will be limited to. The study is confined to. The study will not cover the. And let's go to our main topic for today, which is the scope and the limitation. You can use, or we have to remember the following in formulating our scope and the limitation. We have to remember the purpose of the study. Why is it important? Okay, the population or the respondents of your study, you have to write it there. The geographical location or the setting of your study, the location of it. The duration of the research or the timeline of the research. So all the important things that you need to be mentioned or you need to mention in your study, you have to write it here. in your scope and delimitation. Also, the instrument to be used, or if you have budget to be used there, how limited is that in your study. Okay, the samples method, the research design, financial limitation of your study. Okay, so now I'll give you the very exact scope and delimitation for you to be guided. So let's use the title Effectiveness of Video Materials as Supplementary Learning Resources, a Comparative Study. So using the title, I formulated the following scope and delimitation statement. I will say the study first sentence, the study will focus on the determination of the effectivity of utilizing video materials as supplementary learning resources and will be compared to some of the other learning resources. Period. So that's my first statement. Next, I will use another prompts. The primary subject of this research study will consist of grade 11 TVL students enrolled in the school year 2023-2024. Period. So that's the second sentence or statement. Okay, I will use the next statement and I will use a prompt with my next statement. The respondents will be limited to 5 for each strand of grade 11 TVL learners, namely 11 HEA, 11 Caregiving, 11 ICTC, and 11 EIM of Senior High School of the Signal Village National High School Division of Taguig City and Pateros. So I specified my samples or my respondents. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. Okay, next paragraph, I will say moreover. The participants will be purposely selected by referring to the records of grades in the Practical Research 1 and Computer System Servicing subjects. In the pretest, the participants are marked as in-need learners. On the other hand, the video materials are provided by the researcher after every lesson that are uploaded to the easy access social media site of the researcher. So, that's it for our lesson today. Your activity will be, of course, you will create your own scope and delimitation of the study.